I'm thinking the reality of the risks of climate change and that it isn't tomorrow, it's now. All
Good morning.
Oh, good morning. Hey, it's me.
Does my camera look a little blurry to you?
Hold on, let me find that screen. It's so funny. There's a participants box in front of your face, and you just like peeked behind it as if you knew it was there. It's like, oh, there you are. No, it looks good.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm gonna practice. I figured out yesterday how to do my slides while having my notes up, so I'm just gonna try that real quick right now. So if you could just humor me and let me know if you see my notes or not, that would be great. So you see my screen, right?
Yeah.
But you do not see my notes, correct? No? Do you see my notes?
Yeah. Okay. I do not see any. I see like your toolbar. Yeah, but I also see your toolbar.
You do see a toolbar, what, on the bottom?
Yeah. Downloads in the toolbar.
Oh, so it shows my whole screen.
Mm-hmm. I see the full, I don't see notes.
Okay, well, that's good. So let me get rid of that. So now you shouldn't see the downloads anymore, but you still see the top, right? My like 80 windows that are open.
Wait, hold on. Sorry, I'm getting an echo and I'm hearing two things at once for some reason. Give me one second. Why? Okay, now I think we're good. I have the live streaming already running and I'm getting the feedback from that. That's what was happening.
Oh, but it's not running on the main screen yet, right?
No, it's not. I just already had it live. So there is going to be, this is one of the things I was playing around with. There is going to be a slight delay in between the live stream and the Zoom session, which I think is okay because we're not going to be taking any questions or anything during the live stream. So I don't think it'll be a big deal. It's like a 4-second delay.
Okay.
You could do a really great round of row, row, row your boat.
What, on the coffee? What happened there?
You know, like with the delay, you know, like we could just like start a whole.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Row, row, row.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome.
This looks really, really good.
I'm ready to go. Yeah, Carly did a great job.
Amazing.
On some of the slides.
Yeah. Yeah, they look really, really good. I told her yesterday, I was like, everything you touch turns to gold. It's so nice having somebody that's doing a great job. I saw one of Kat Taylor's people pop in for a second, but then they left.
Yeah, I saw that Aja was here for a second.
Yeah.
She's not here anymore.
No.
I may not have the chat or the participants up just because it kind of blurs my screen more. So.
Yeah, I agree.
And then I'm basically not signed into Zoom right now, which should be okay. It's probably better than me being signed in, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, it's working, so I'm not going to complain.
Yeah.
Whatever needs to happen.
How's my lighting and everything? We're good?
Yep. Look, you're on it. I feel like you got a ring light back behind there.
Well, actually, I have my blinds here. If I open them, it's going to be too bright. Oh, God, too bright.
Yeah, too bright. Yeah.
Oh, I messed it up.
Let's not go there.
Yeah.
Oh, Kat's here. Perfect.
Morning, Kat.
Good morning.
There we go.
Okay, so just as a reminder, as Kat is speaking, you might have to bounce off and jump onto the next link for Denise. Unless you would like to. Oh, actually do the outro first.
Yeah.
With Kat, and then bounce on it. I'll let Denise know that we'll wait until you arrive.
Okay. Because I'm doing the intro for her, right?
Yes, unless that was assigned to someone else.
No, it wasn't.
Okay. If you get in a pickle and you need me to do that, please let me know.
I might ask for you to do the outro, maybe, just to say, and now join us. Well, will you need to be on the other one as well?
I don't have to be. I can bounce back and forth.
Okay. Good morning, Aja. I think that's Aja right there.
Not sure. I see Kat.
Yeah, there's Kat. It's a nice painting in the background there. I like that.
It is. Still connecting to audio.
Yep, I see that.
Sorry, you guys, I had to switch devices because it was spinning me in that endless circle instead of letting me in.
Oh, not the endless circle. No one likes the endless circle. Not on a Friday morning.
No, that's never helpful, but especially right now. How are you, Ben?
Doing all right. It's been a little crazy. Putting on a virtual conference is not. It's not a small amount of work. Got to be honest with you.
Nope. I recognize that.
So are we about to go live now, Farah? We're about 2 minutes out.
Yep, I was about to copy and paste this link in, and yeah, the stream should be live on Whova. I'm checking that right now.
Okay.
That's why we have people joining in for us.
If I fail to advance my slides, is anybody able to do that?
Yes, we've got a backup for you, Kat.
Okay, thank you. Sometimes I just bungle that.
Good morning, everyone. We're going to go ahead and give folks a couple minutes here to log in. It's nice to see some friendly faces. I was just saying during our morning coffee that I didn't think I'd feel this way, but I'm feeling a little nostalgic today. Usually we do this in person, and it's a great opportunity to see people that you may not see any other day of the year, or former colleagues, old friends, and give hugs and a smile. And I'm missing that a little bit today. So for what it's worth, I miss you all out there. All right. Well, who's excited? Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the 19th Annual Municipal Green Building Conference and Expo. I want to let that sink in for a moment. 19 years, because that's not a small amount of time. And it's amazing that we've made it here today in a challenging year. And we're incredibly proud of the program we put together for you today. And I really appreciate you taking the time to join us. And first of all, to just sort of level set, I want to acknowledge where we're at. I was just waxing a little bit sad for a moment and thinking of all the years that we've done this in person. I have not been there all 19 years, but I've been there for many of them. And that's part of why I chose this image here that we use for promotion to have on this intro slide. Because right now I sort of feel like we're in that murky, turbulent water right off the beach, and we've left the solid feel of that shore behind. But I think it's important. I don't want to really beat this analogy too much, but we have to move through that water together. We have to get through the murkiness. It takes effort to get to the other side, and that comes back to the theme of this conference a bit. Late last year we chose equity as the theme for this conference. Little did we know everything that would happen, over the past 9 months, let alone even the past 3. And that it really made that issue so much more important and really shined the light on it that it should have had from the beginning. And the sub themes that we chose around commitment and community also speak to equity, because we can't really do the work we need to do unless we're committed, unless we're focusing on community first. And I want to talk a little about this conference today. As I said, I'm incredibly proud of what we've put together. I really want to thank our team here at the U.S. Green Building Council Los Angeles. I want to thank Farah and Julie and Fernanda and Becky and Carly. I want to thank our board who's put in a lot of hard work because we couldn't do that without them. And frankly, we couldn't do this without you, our community. To be here in our 19th years is no small feat. My name's Ben Stapleton, and I'm the executive director here for the U.S. Green Building Council Los Angeles. We're an independent nonprofit, and our mission is really to accelerate sustainability in the built environment for Southern California. And our program that we put together really reflects that. Tomorrow we have a workshop that's really featuring what our frontline workers are going through during this pandemic, their experience, really shining the light on the work they're doing, which is so important right now. They're bearing a lot of the brunt of what we need to do to change and make our spaces healthier and feel safe going into our environments. We're also featuring a workshop highlighting a new program that we're launching this fall to really train gardeners on how to use native plants properly and how to do drought-tolerant landscaping in a way that can be maintained. We want to prop up those workers, those sole proprietor gardeners, and give them the tools so that they can live a more sustainable life, just like we've done in our Green Janitors Education Program. And I think it's important to note that while we're here today, dialing in from our computers, I'm joining you here from my office. Many of the folks that are here design buildings, do elaborate plans on how to build things, but there's still people out there that are building those buildings that are taking risks and are living in a new reality and have never stopped this whole time. The construction industries continue to move forward. And we need to honor those people as well, because they're also part of our community. And also appreciate that there's a new focus on the health of our environments. I think many of us in the green building world have been talking about occupant health and talking about how the work we do can make people healthier for many years now. And now's the time when people are paying attention just a little bit more. And we need to think about where we're at on this week. We didn't expect this week would be like this when we planned this conference. It's sort of like this every year, I guess, in California in many ways. But, the work we do touches buildings, touches our environment. Wildfire is an incredible risk. We're all experiencing that right now. It's impacted our families at this point. Almost everyone in California has felt that in some way. And the built environment, you'll start to notice, is a common thread that ties all of this together. And if we can focus on creating a more sustainable built environment and more sustainable buildings, more sustainable infrastructure, I look at this picture here of what LA was like when the pandemic first started without traffic, with clear skies. This can be our future every day if we focus on the things that are important for us and really work to build a really, truly more sustainable society. And getting back to our program for a moment, I hope you can join us tomorrow. We have a workshop session featuring our legacy project this year, which is a rooftop aeroponic garden in a church in South LA that's going to be functioning as a prison reentry program. And this all started from one man in a prison in the desert growing sunflowers that brought him healing and him being able to share that healing with others. And I think it's a lesson we can all take to heart in looking at the future and looking at what can we grow now that can help make our world a bit of a better place. And to that point, I don't have a lot of time with you this morning, but there's a few things that I really wanted to impress upon you as action items going forward. And that is, there's things that we can do now that can make an impact. And one of those is voting. The next 4 years are going to have a huge impact on our fights against climate change, for social and racial equity. And so vote. It's incredibly important. And it's incredibly important for you to talk to other people so that they know that they need to vote too. And also at this moment in time, connect. We need to be human. We need to be present. We need to have a conversation with folks. We don't talk enough about the mental health issues that we could be dealing with. And we need to meet people with where they're at right now and acknowledge that we're going through something that's unprecedented for most of us. And we also need to reflect that this is a moment of change. This is a moment for dramatic market shifts. We can make that positive and imagine a future that's better than the past. And so we need to inspire those around us because we can. And be conscious of that. And also realize at the same time, that means we're going to have to work that much harder, that it's going to take that old adage of 10% inspiration and 90% perspiration to get that work done. And so we need to tackle these challenges head on, but we also need to be taking care of ourselves. We can't forget about that during this time. And so who are we, bringing this back? At the end of the day, our organization is about people. It's about those of you who are with us today, passionate, practical, and informed professionals and advocates who work together to transform this region into a more sustainable region for all. That for all is incredibly important. And we want to make this the best place for anyone to learn the how, the why, and the who of how to live more sustainably, because we can't continue to live the way we have been in the past. And all of us that are here really believe in creating a more sustainable future. And we do that through education, through innovation, and through impactful action. And some of the things that we've done this past year to really lean into that. In March, we launched a talent portal. We really want to create a regional hub for jobs in our industry, whether that's green job postings, recorded content, training. We feature local employers. We have a mentorship network. We're launching a Green Building Corps next month, which is going to be a structured volunteer program for people to get real world experience. I highly recommend you check out lagreenjobs.org or check out our talent portal on our website so that we can share some of that with you. It's our opportunity to really lead the world as a workforce here locally. And then this year, we also launched our Green Schools Initiative in a bigger way, really looking at creating holistic change on campuses to reduce energy, water, and waste use. And that includes education for students, education for parents and teachers. We're integrating our Green Janitors program with our partners at Building Skills Partnership. And so you can be part of that. Apply to be a Green Schools speaker, request a speaker to come into your school to do a distance learning session on sustainability. These sessions are taught by our members and volunteers so they can talk about their careers and let kids know that they can have a job doing this kind of work too. This year, we also launched our Healthy Building Alliance. We've been working on this for a year. You really felt that a lot of the healthy building certifications that were out there were just too complex and too expensive for most people to engage in. So what we created is a commitment. It's not a certification, but it's something that all building owners, tenants, and individuals can make to provide healthy and resilient spaces to live, work, and play. And so you can make this commitment for your office, for your building, for a retail space. Any tenant or building owner can make this commitment to air quality, green cleaning, providing access to nature, inspiring movement, and doing annual water testing. And this will create valuable building level data for us to bring investment here locally to make a positive impact. This year is also the second year of our Net Zero Accelerator. I'm really proud of our 2020 cohort. We've got an amazing group of companies. We had over 160 applicants from around the world. And in this program, we're looking to pilot and promote technologies that can make an impact today in our buildings to help us get to a net positive future. And you can be involved in this as an advisor or as a pilot partner. These companies are doing some amazing things. We don't have to wait for the future to do this. These technologies are here now. They just need to be implemented at scale. And lastly, that comes to really what you can do on a day-to-day basis. We have committees that meet monthly on a variety of issues, whether that's building decarbonization or green schools, corporate sustainability or advocacy. Our legacy project that I mentioned earlier, that's actually built by volunteers here in our organization. Our Women in Green Group, no surprise, is our biggest and strongest committee that's really doing work all the time. Emerging professionals here lifting up the next generation of leadership and talent. And our construction committee, which this year has made amazing progress on really addressing the issue of construction waste here in the greater LA region. And I hope you can join us this evening from 5 to 6. Many of our branches and our committees will be hosting happy hours. And that's an opportunity for you to meet the folks who are involved in those groups and learn a little bit about what they're doing. And what would an event be without a little bit of fun and art? I think it's so important to make sure we integrate that into all aspects of our life. I hope you can join us from 4:30 to 5 o'clock today with the Reverend Sean Amos. In looking at different musical acts we could have had for the conference today. Sure, we talked to Bono. Yeah, we talked to Sting, but it was the Reverend Sean Amos that I felt like was really going to bring it home for us at the end of the day. And so I hope you can join for a little bit of blues, roots rock, and gospel that he can share with us. And if you appreciate our content and if you really believe in green buildings, I'd ask, please consider donating to us by texting GREEN to 707070. We have a small nonprofit team and we're doing way more work than we should, but we're doing it because we believe, and your support, even if it's a little bit, can mean a lot to us. And I'd be remiss if I didn't say thank you to our annual sponsors. They support the work that we do on a day-to-day basis. Thank you to our sponsors for this conference. You'll see a lot of familiar names here. We couldn't have done this without them, especially in a difficult and challenging year like we've had this year. I also want to say thank you to our exhibitors in learning with us through this experience that we're having today and staying committed. We're excited about the opportunity for you to be able to engage with them. Please go visit the exhibit hall. We've got some great content there. A lot of them are doing live streaming sessions. We have a scavenger hunt you can participate in, but I hope you can go visit our exhibit hall and visit some of these exhibitors. And I also want to say thank you to our community partners. We've got a great group of organizations here. really thank you to Julie DeBrow for helping to put all that outreach together and bring this community together in this way with all these other groups. But we enjoy working with you on a day-to-day basis as well, as we can't do the work we do on our own. It's all being part of a bigger system and network. So in closing, I really want to just stress, this is our opportunity to be engaged. Our way out of this is together. It's through that hard work. It's through inspiring each other. And that perspiration also as we get through the murky water to the clear water on the other side. So I would encourage you to become a member, to join a committee, be a mentor, volunteer, support an initiative that speaks to and inspires you, and ultimately build yourself, because that's what's going to shape the future. And with that, I would like to introduce Jeff Walker, who's the Vice President of Customer Solutions for SoCalGas. Jeff and his team deliver products, programs, and services to meet SoCalGas's customers' energy needs. Jeff has been at SoCalGas for more than 25 years, where he's held a variety of positions. He's also a member of the Martin Luther King Jr. Community Health Foundation Board of Directors and member of the Chrysalis Board of Directors. And I want to say also that up until this year, for every year, we've had this event at the SoCalGas Energy Resource Center in Downey. And they've always donated that to us for free. And so we couldn't be where we are without their support. So I want to say thank you for all their support over these years. Jeff, are you there? I'd like to turn it over to you to enter our keynote.
Thank you, Ben. Can you hear me okay, everyone?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Well, first off, just want to say welcome to the Municipal Green Building Conference and Expo this year. The conference's theme this year of equity and inclusion, very much in alignment with my current role as Vice President at SoCalGas, and is consistent with our thinking at SoCalGas overall. At SoCalGas, we're focused on building the 21st century energy system that provides our nearly 22 million customers with clean, reliable, and affordable energy. Having access to this affordable energy is particularly important to those economically disadvantaged, which is about 30% of our residential customer base. And this is especially true during economically impacting times like this. I think we'd all agree on that. Our vision at SoCalGas is to become the cleanest gas utility in North America, delivering affordable and increasingly renewable energy to customers. In support of that vision, we've committed to deliver 5% of renewable natural gas into our system by 2022 and 20% by 2030. As many of you know, renewable natural gas is produced from waste streams, and it can reduce greenhouse gas emissions because it takes more climate pollution out of the air than it emits. We're using our waste streams to create energy for our beneficial use. It's what's called the circular economy. And in addition to renewable natural gas, or RNG for short, we're looking for other ways to help California reach its ambitious climate goals with clean, renewable hydrogen and carbon capture, utilization, and sequestration. I think it's critically important that we meet these decarbonization goals. I think we all probably feel that way. Every one of us should have access to clean, affordable, and always available energy, regardless of the economic condition we're in. And working together, we can all make that happen. In keeping with this year's conference theme, we fully support sustainability and economic justice, really important concepts. SoCalGas has suspended service disconnections until further notice, which means customers will not have their natural gas turned off due to non-payment. We also don't charge late fees to residential customers, and we've waived late fees for small business customers at this time. All that said, I want to get to the main reason that I'm here today. I have the distinct pleasure of introducing Kat Taylor. I can think of no one who better exemplifies equity, inclusion, and social justice than Kat. She's worked tirelessly to restore social justice and environmental well-being and to build a more equitable and inclusive world. In addition to being active in a variety of social enterprises and philanthropic ventures on the West Coast, Kat's the co-founder and co-chair of the board of Beneficial State Bank, a community development financial institution. The bank's mission is to bring beneficial banking to low-income communities in an economically and environmentally sustainable manner, and to change the banking system for good. Kat, we really appreciate and are encouraged by your important work and accomplishments. So everyone, please join me in welcoming Kat Taylor. Turn it over to you.
Thank you very much. Am I coming through okay, both visually and sound-wise?
Yep, I can hear you over here. You're looking good.
Awesome. Okay, thank you. Thank you for having me today. I'm so glad that you're all convening in spite of pandemic constraints. And here we go. So please bear with me. I am a white woman of privilege trying hard to fulfill my role in a world where Black lives matter. As Leonard Cohen wrote, look for the cracks, that's where the light gets in. And boy, do we have myriad cracks. From the edge of the precipice, it's hard to imagine how we can cure society in the United States of white supremacy, of wealth colonization, and of dire environmental threat, much less the pandemic. Moreover, everything interacts, auguring seismic shifts at the intersection. But maybe these are exactly the circumstances that allow for a holistic fix. If we put more and different people in charge, we just might snatch our species' chestnut out of this fire. I'm gonna stop for a minute to see if I can share my content, maybe not. And then if anybody wants to throw the deck up, it's just pretty pictures, but so we can go without it too.
I'll get it up here in a second for you, Kat. Just
Okay.
Why don't you proceed and I'll throw it up for you.
Great, thanks. How apt that our crucible human moment, whether we will be allowed to prosper collectively and persist on planet Earth, has come to roost in the movement for Black lives. Surely we will never again underestimate how dangerous it is to be Black in racist America. But we begin to understand, perfect slide, thank you, that we have all been led perilously astray by othering. The Southern strategy, pitting poor whites against all Blacks, caught us all in its immoral construct. White supremacy is an American paradigm, not just a Southern throwback. As Angela Glover Blackwell has said, it's time to end the Black-white dynamic that keeps all of us down. Liberation, self-determination, and joy for Black Americans is the only basis for universal freedom. And we have come to the end of our ecological rope as well. Just in time, we must heed sentient voices because otherwise, this planet will spit us and our foul ways out like a watermelon seed and just keep on trucking without us. Mass protest movements at present show how we might achieve a transfer of power sufficient to this task. So many constituencies in America who have endured oppression are called to the streets in their intersectionality. They represent our challenging national legacy. The enslavement of Africans and then terror under Jim Crow and mass incarceration to achieve a young nation's economic hegemony, the theft of ancestral lands through native genocide and torture, the patriarchal denial of reproductive freedom, individual liberties, and economic parity, the rendering to second-class citizenry by xenophobia and demand for cheap labor, the persecution based on sexual identity. But importantly, and in an uplifting way, these communities impacted earn supreme wisdom from experiencing the very violent harm and deprivations that we must leave behind forever. We need only empower those who have endured oppression to preside over our collective salvation. We share a common goal today at this conference, quote, to expand who is actively participating in and benefiting from the sustainable built environment. I should likely be offering solutions in that built environment like cross-laminated timber or participatory budgeting or radical notions of society as client. But to me, equitable sustainability is a necessary but insufficient condition for a moral world. I have come to believe that unless we transfer power, ownership, wealth, income, control, opportunity back to those from whom it was taken directly or indirectly, we will not reach the beloved community to which Martin Luther King hearkened. We need reparations now. We need a restorative economy now. So I am dedicated to sharing power back to undermined communities and their stewards with an eye toward transforming economic and societal structures that are part of the problem. In thinking about those structural reforms, it helps me to go back to theory, especially theory that's uncomfortable. I am now a student of restorative economics with the help of experts like Namako Agbo and Taj James, but the theory to which I was exposed before came mostly during business and law school. In a good way, I was a naive, someone who had no background in economics or finance, and therefore no preconceived notion of what those systems could or were producing. 3 revelations in particular stick with me to this day. A professor explained the concept of Pareto optimality, which is the notion that 2 parties will only engage in transactions that are mutually beneficial. He demonstrated by plotting on a graph of the classic but horrible example of guns and butter, 2 individuals' initial holdings, their quote, initial endowments. One had X amount of guns and Y amount of butter, and the other had 2X the amount of guns and 2Y the amount of butter. Then when he identified the mutually beneficial exchanges, it created a little pillow between the 2 points of endowment called a Pareto optimality pillow that was theoretically the optimal outcome. But the only thing that I could see was that everything was dependent upon those initial endowments. And if you can't change your initial endowments, then you can't really change your outcomes in life. Fast forward to today, when zip code is the strongest predictor of poverty. The other teaching from law school that bothers me to this day demonstrated how our economic models often obscure the truth to rationalize cruelty and oppression. In our land use class, the professor literally said, "Thank goodness we have pollution because that's how we get affordable housing." Every community steward can attest to the false causality of that statement. Our economic and political systems intentionally impose pollution and all sorts of other ills on communities low in power. But it also points out the cognitive dissonance that allows people to accept cruelty and oppression in order to maintain their own hoarding. Morally, we should never have imposed those externalities in the first place. And in fairness, we should be resourcing communities set upon by this kind of harm to transform Superfund and brownfield sites into community health clinics, owned and affordable rental housing, hydroponic agriculture, and destination community assets. Again, reparations are required. And then there is the concept of agency costs. That's when an intermediary between you and power hijacks it for their own agenda. Think politicians, corporate CEOs, even parents sometimes. Many of us don't have had financial advisors who prize more their track record than our request for balance sheets aligned with mission purpose. I recall Confluence hosted workshops on firing your investment manager as a reflection of this phenomenon. Yet for conventional philanthropy, the 95%, the assets, are having so much more impact than the 5%, that grant making, and that's not usually managed to mission by the intermediaries. We will never clean up that kind of philanthropy. With that kind of philanthropy, the harm done investing in fossil fuels, private prisons, and predatory finance. That tail will never wag that dog. I really had no assets until my husband became an investor and realized a lot of success. A full interrogation into the source of that wealth awaits me yet, but we are on the journey. At first, we practiced classic grant making, but increasingly wanted to have more impact for all the reasons cited before. About 20 years ago, we decided to focus on 3 big systems that need radical transformation: money, food, and governance, and to create operating entities at the heart of each to gain the insights of a real actor in the system. If you would be so kind, perfect, thank you. First, we started Beneficial State Bank, a triple bottom line social enterprise mandated to produce social justice and environmental well-being in equal measure to financial sustainability. BSB has grown to be $1 billion in assets and is owned by a foundation to keep its alignment with mission and to reinvest profits in the communities that we serve. We are also trying to give back agency and accountability to depositors so that with them we can change the banking system for good. That's our calling. But it turns out there's no amount of debt that overcomes the reality of not having equity. American society has stripped Black and brown communities of so much wealth that they have virtually no buffer against which to borrow. We can and still do a lot of good in increasing access to bank finance while keeping people aligned in their deposits. But a bank is not the only or best way to create wealth among those deprived of those initial endowments in the first place. So we started 2 venture funds, one called Bright Path Capital Partners and the other Radical Impact Partners. Bright Path and Radical also focus on the good food, good money, and as well good natural capital, with the investment thesis that transformative mission impact is the basis of competitive returns. Mission comes first. But less than 2% of venture funding goes to women or BIPOC entrepreneurs. We are making headway shifting the access to venture funding, but once again, lack of initial endowments disadvantages BIPOC and women-led teams. They can't bootstrap capital to begin. They lack social capital to gain entry to decisioners. They have poor credentialing like advanced degrees to compete for audience. They suffer the implicit bias against diverse teams, which are perceived off the bat to be disadvantaged in the marketplace. And this discrimination really affects the allocation of capital for social good. In 2018, the top 10 financings overall went to gaming, vaping, and rideshare, in contrast to the top financings of BIPOC and women-led companies that address healthcare, communications, and education. Still, we persist in changing venture capital for good, but we have to do more. We need reform of philanthropy. Charity is really an admission of failure if you think about it. If we ran society right in the first place, no one would need charity because they would have good initial endowments, control over assets, and therefore power and opportunity and self-determination. Moreover, philanthropy, like loans and investments, are vestiges of colonial power in white hands that must, in Edgar Villanueva's parlance, be decolonized. We are beyond just tinkering around with the rules of philanthropy in terms of grant making. We seek that charitable assets be managed by, invested in, and transferred to community stewards where the hurt is worst. As we speak, we are workshopping the use of donor-advised funds and opportunity zones to create community and individual ownership of critical community assets. Give them the assets and get out of the way is our mantra. Then we engaged about as fully as possible in the political system, as you might have noted in this last primary season. A top priority, no matter what party you frequent, is to take back our democracy. The undermining of the post office being just the latest attack against government of, by, and for the people. We cannot survive 4 more years of white supremacy, race baiting, and authoritarian rule. Yet no matter who leads at the top, politics is still in the economic forces until true campaign finance reform can be won and done. Ultimately, eliminating moneyed interests from politics to restore democracy is the sine qua non. And so we battle on. In none of this work do we go it alone. We are not endowed with the wisdom to do so. We work alongside allies and directed by new leadership that comes from the most affected communities. As Professor Peniel E. Joseph writes, until the most marginalized among us, the trans teenagers traumatized by dehumanizing legislation, the Latina and queer youth with no access to HIV treatment, the single Black women struggling to raise their children while holding down 3 jobs, are recognized as part of our collective American family, we all remain imprisoned. The leaders among the marginalized in particular have the better plan for all. Look to the outsiders from whence our true help shall come. They know the way out of our mess. Next slide, please. It is those outside the system, massive numbers of them now, who deeply understand that while the US economy has been an incredible wealth machine, that wealth has redounded to fewer and fewer households and has been actively stolen from Black, brown, and young Americans. As Warren Buffett notes, GDP has doubled 7 times in his lifetime, and most of that went to him or those privileged like him. Recently, a fellow on Twitter wondered, how is it when we only buy what we need, the economy crashes? Up to 1/3 of urban residents are now considered Alices, asset limited, income constrained, yet employed. How is it also that anyone working 40 hours a week can be destitute? Yet out of this grotesque economic inequity come insights. Those outsiders know which way salvation lies. They also know, as futurists even in the optimist camp will tell you, that we must go through breakdown to get to breakthrough. All but the self-promoting electeds and business super predators concede the need for a new vision for humanity in our time. Muhammad Yunus, the founder of the Grameen Bank and other economic innovations, recently told me that he is working in coalition to design a new civilization. Nothing less than that will suffice. For him, it's a society that yields zero poverty, zero unemployment, and zero carbon. We can all imagine our own version. To me, manifestos like that of Black Lives Matter encompass the best of our country while mitigating for the worst of our history. To end the war on Black people, to create reparations for historic harms, to divest and invest according to common values, to ensure economic justice, to accord community control, and to share political power. These commitments recognize that poverty is not self-generated. It derives from the excesses of an economic system. That capital has been beating up on labor for centuries, and labor is, after all, just people. That when everybody owns a little bit of something, we all thrive, and when anybody owns too much of anything, we suffer. That business needs to observe universal rules of social justice and environmental well-being, not the other way around. That defunding police and refunding community-based interventions is imperative. These reforms work outside and inside the system, and they have moral standing. But how can they come about? I believe these reforms will stem ultimately from a mutualism that harvests the power of network effects. Simplistically, mutualism just means a grand awakening that we are all in this life together. We know we won't get out of it alive, but we are learning that it will be a truly magnificent journey only when everyone thrives. Culturally, mutualism holds against anyone's efforts to undermine or cheat, because we all know what goes around comes around. The ubiquity of sayings like that hints to me that we hold the DNA of mutualism unconsciously, just awaiting crisis and charismatic leadership sufficient to finally admit we need each other. Truly accepting our collective belonging and mutualism would go a long way toward getting rid of othering, and network effects might present another way beyond government or philanthropy that wealth could actually be shared equitably. A network effect is created when the value of a given network increases as each member joins. The network therefore becomes self-fulfilling. The more members who join, the more value creation the network realizes, and therefore the more members who want to join. Early examples of the network effect, of course, include the telephone, the internet, even electoral politics itself. But we are seeing network effects created exponentially versus the past due to the facilitation of the internet and nearly ubiquitous global computing power. And they can pop up rather rapidly, like the Arab Spring. In fact, there are estimates that a mere 300 affinity groups could amass 2 billion constituents, the same number as Facebook has users, in a relative jiffy. Networks can also experience a reverse network effect, and therein lies an opportunity for mutualism. We are not starting from scratch. We have multiple existing network effects. Mutualism could be the way that beneficial network effects are protected and deleterious ones are disbanded. So what if we took up our power of joining and defecting and used it to reallocate resources, especially wealth in society? We are the sleeping giant at the heart of every network effect, and the science of networks know it. One example is what Facebook recently experienced as a result of revealing that they trade on personal data along with demographic shifts. Facebook was at risk of a negative network effect as people defect from Facebook to other networks, thereby decreasing the value of the experience to all who remain. Maybe that's why Facebook bought Instagram and WhatsApp, to catch the defectors within the family, if you will. Here's where we get to what Marina Gorbis and others write about, called platform cooperatives and social production. If we were to threaten defection en masse, we could gain bargaining power to insist that every user in these commercial networks be rewarded each time the user accesses or otherwise uses the network platform. That's what is meant by social production. In this way, shoppers on Amazon through their purchases, or members of Facebook through their sharings, or searchers on Google through their queries could earn a micro share of the company. That's what's called social compensation. Blockchain makes creating and monitoring those micro shares now ever more feasible. This would begin to affect a reallocation of resources among participants in network effects. Even those excluded from ownership by lack of wealth could begin to create it by mere participation. In other words, we can leverage the power of network effects to restore power to the people who create the value in the network effect in the first place. Organizing always encounters friction, but ironically, these giant networks have given their users exactly the platform they need to do so. You might also expect resistance by the holders of equity in these massive networks, but if they might risk a full reversal of their network, that means they must entertain the possibility of their market cap going from 400 billion to zero or somewhere in between. If the bird in the hand offer is to share even up to half with their users, who in turn will stay in the network and preserve, if not increase their market cap, they might become more willing. We could also use our bargaining power not only to shop networks, but also to create more value in the ones we enjoy by staying, providing feedback, and improving the value proposition. True platform cooperatives. In closing, and as Full Spectrum Capital reminds us, on the migration from to a restorative economy, we must be honest about when strategies are the retrenching kind, which is an activity that seems good on the face of it, but actually reinforces the status quo in very destructive ways, or are genuinely bridging strategies to get us from the status quo closer to the ideal of beloved communities. They say that these are not the best of times, but they're the only times I'll ever know. And I believe there is a time for meditation in cathedrals of our own. So when I see that sad surrender in my brother's eyes, I can't stand aside and only sympathize. For we are always what our situation hands us. It's either sadness or euphoria. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kat. Thank you for the time with us this morning. Really blessed to have your presence here. At this point, we're going to move to our next keynote. For folks, we're going to be introducing Dr. Denise Fairchild in a moment, and we hope you stick with us. Thank you so much, Kat. Have a great day.